All right, let's dive into the Iliad.
Okay.
We're talking epic poetry, ancient Greece,
Yeah.
and a story that's been around for ages, right?
Right.
Um, and we've got excerpts and summaries of the poem,
Okay.
which I think sets the stage for some pretty incredible conversations.
Yeah.
What we're after today isn't just like a plot recap.
You're right.
It's the why.
Yeah, the why.
Why does this tale of Achilles, the Trojan War, and those meddling gods still resonate with us after nearly 3,000 years?
It's so interesting because the Iliad, it doesn't shy away from the tough questions like rage, honor, fate, free will, the cost of war.
Yeah.
All of these things are kind of woven into the story.
Right.
And I think that's what makes it so enduring.
Okay, so we're dropped right into the Trojan War.
Yeah.
The Greeks are attacking Troy because Paris, the Trojan prince,
Yeah.
has run off with Helen,
Right.
who just happened to be married to the king of Sparta.
Yes.
Talk about an international incident.
Yeah.
But this isn't just about a love triangle, is it?
Not at all. No. I mean, Helen's abduction is the catalyst, sure.
Right.
But it quickly kind of explodes into this war that draws in powerful heroes on both sides and becomes this battleground for something much larger, this clash between individual desires and the demands of duty, the pursuit of glory, and the brutal realities of war.
And in the middle of all this is Achilles,
Yes.
the Greeks' ultimate warrior,
Right.
with a temper that could melt bronze.
That's right.
He's almost a mythical figure, this near-invincible warrior.
Yes.
But then Agamemnon, the leader of the Greek forces, makes this huge mistake.
Yes.
He takes Briseis, Achilles' war prize.
Yeah.
So what does that tell us about this world and its values?
Well, in this culture, honor wasn't just a concept.
Right.
It was a warrior's currency.
Yeah.
It was tied to reputation, worth, everything.
Right.
Taking Briseis wasn't just stealing a woman.
Right.
It was publicly stripping Achilles of his status, his hard-won glory.
Oh, wow.
You can imagine how that felt, right?
Yeah, I mean...
It was a slap in the face, but like on a societal level.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And Achilles, well, he reacts about as you'd expect.
Of course.
Furious doesn't even begin to cover it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. He doesn't just lash out
Right.
or seek immediate revenge.
Right.
He withdraws from the war entirely.
He does.
He's so insulted, so deeply wronged, that he chooses to actively harm the Greeks by his absence.
Yeah, this is where Achilles' rage becomes something more,
Yes.
more than just a simple outburst.
Wow.
He's making a statement about the injustice he suffered, almost
Yeah.
like saying, if you disrespect me, you disrespect the entire Greek cause.
Wow.
And the consequences are almost immediate.
They are.
Yeah,
The tides start turning,
right.
and not in the Greeks' favor.
Yeah,
They start taking serious losses.
they do.
And then we have Hector, the Trojan prince.
Yeah,
He's their best warrior,
right.
but he's driven by a completely different set of motivations.
He is.
Yeah.
Hector is such an interesting counterpoint to Achilles. Right.
I mean, he's fighting for duty, for his family, for his city.
Yeah.
There's this incredibly moving scene
Yes.
in Book 6 where he says goodbye to his wife, Andromache,
Right.
and their baby son.
Oh, wow.
And he knows he's probably going to die,
Oh, man.
but he feels he has to fight.
Yeah.
It's a stark reminder that even in war, even when facing those overwhelming odds, there's this need to protect what we love.
And just when you think it can't get any more intense,
Right.
we're reminded that this isn't just a human war.
It's not, no.
Right.
Yeah.
The gods are constantly meddling, taking sides, pulling strings.
Like a cosmic puppet show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the gods add this whole other layer to the story.
They do.
A layer of fate and destiny, but also of irony.
Right.
I mean, they're mortal, they're petty, they squabble amongst themselves.
Yeah.
But humans facing real death, their choices seem to matter even more.
It makes you think about free will, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Like, are these characters truly in control of their own fates, or are they just playing out roles determined by the gods?
That tension between fate and free will is one of the central themes of the Iliad.
Okay.
Even the gods are bound by fate to a certain extent,
Right.
but humans have the capacity to make choices,
Yeah.
to act heroically or villainously, and ultimately shape their own destinies.
Right.
It's what makes their stories so compelling, even thousands of years later.
And that leads us to another key concept.
Yeah.
Kleos, everlasting glory,
Yes.
achieved through heroic deeds.
Right.
It's not just fame, is it?
No.
It's this desire to be remembered forever,
Right.
to leave a mark on the world that outlasts even death.
Cleos was the ultimate motivator for warriors like Achilles and Hector.
Yeah.
It was their path to immortality, achieved through courage on the battlefield.
Wow.
Powerful force.
Yeah.
It comes at a cost.
So we have these massive battles and divine interventions.
We do.
But our sources also emphasize the human cost of war.
They do.
The individual stories of loss and sacrifice that make the ending all the more poignant.
It's easy to get caught up in the grand narratives of war.
Right.
But the Iliad reminds us that every battle, every duel has a ripple effect on the lives of so many individuals. It's not just about who wins or loses. It's about the fathers and sons, the husbands and wives, the friends and comrades who are lost.
Like that duel between Glaucus and Diomedes.
Oh, yes.
They actually refused to fight each other.
Right.
Because their families have this ancient bond of hospitality.
Yeah.
Talk about defying expectations.
That scene is so remarkable because it highlights Xenia.
Yeah.
This sacred duty to show hospitality, even to strangers.
Right.
It was considered inviolable, even in times of war. And it shows that even in the brutality of conflict, there were still rules, customs, values that transcended the battlefield.
And then, of course, there's the death of Patroclus, Achilles' closest companion.
Yes.
It's a turning point in the story.
Right.
It's the event that finally pushes Achilles back into the fray.
Yes.
But it's more than just a plot device, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Patroclus' death is a gut punch.
Right.
It shatters Achilles' self-imposed isolation and unleashes his fury.
Yeah.
His grief is so raw, so primal.
Yeah.
And it sets him on this path of vengeance that will have devastating consequences for both sides.
Wow.
Yeah. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Iliad. We left off with Patroclus' death.
Right.
A devastating blow that just reignites Achilles' rage and puts him on this collision course with Hector.
It's like everything's been building to this moment, right?
Yes.
This clash of titans.
Yeah.
Achilles fueled by grief and vengeance.
All right.
Versus Hector, driven by duty and this need to protect his city.
And it's important to remember both of these warriors are driven by these deeply held beliefs.
Right.
By this code of honor that shapes their every action. For Achilles, it's about Cleos. That everlasting glory, but also avenging his friend. Yeah.
For Hector, it's about protecting Troy,
yeah,
his family, his legacy.
Their duel is one of the most, iconic scenes in literature, right?
It is.
But even though we know how it ends, the way Homer describes it, the tension, the emotion, it's impossible not to get, swept up in the moment.
You're right. It's more than just a fight.
Yeah.
It's this clash of ideologies.
Right.
It's a representation of the realities of war, but also the human cost of conflict.
And after Hector falls, we see the darkest side of Achilles' rage.
We do.
He doesn't just defeat Hector.
Right.
He defiles his body, denying him the honorable burial rights that were so important in this culture.
Right.
What was he thinking?
I know.
Was it rage?
Right.
Or something more?
That act of desecration is chilling.
It is.
It's this reminder that even the greatest heroes can be consumed by their passions.
Wow.
It's like Achilles is trying to erase Hector completely,
right,
to deny him even the memory of glory.
But it also goes against everything we've seen about the importance of ritual, honor, even in death.
Yeah, and the gods are definitely not happy about it.
No, they're not.
Zeus, in particular, sees it as a violation of the natural order.
The gods, despite their flaws and interventions, they seem to have this sense of balance.
Yeah.
Cosmic justice.
Okay.
And they recognize that even in war, there are boundaries that shouldn't be crossed.
Right.
Achilles has gone too far.
So Zeus sends Thetis, Achilles' mother, goddess herself, to talk some sense into her son.
Right.
What's it like to be a mother, a divine mother, to have to reason with a son who's consumed by this level of rage?
It's a powerful moment, that meeting between mother and son.
Yeah.
Thetis understands both the divine and the human perspectives.
Right.
She's caught in the middle, trying to bridge that gap between Achilles' grief and the need for compassion.
Right.
And this leads to one of the most emotionally charged scenes in the Iliad. The arrival of Priam.
Imagine being Priam.
I know.
Hector's father.
Right.
Your city is under siege.
Yeah.
Your son, your greatest warrior, has been slain.
Yes.
And you have to go to the enemy camp, to the man who killed him.
Yeah.
and beg for his body back.
It takes so much courage.
I can't even imagine.
It's an act of bravery, but also of desperation.
Yeah.
Priam, he's an elderly king.
Right.
A father who has lost his child.
Right.
He doesn't argue about right or wrong.
Yeah.
He goes straight to Achilles.
Yeah.
And appeals to his humanity. He throws himself at Achilles' feet, kisses his hands, a gesture of ultimate humility.
Right.
And he reminds Achilles that he too is a son.
Yes.
That someday his own father will mourn him.
Right.
It's like he's saying, see me, see my pain, and recognize yourself.
And it's in this moment of shared grief, of human connection, that Achilles just breaks.
Yeah.
The rage, the vengeance, it all melts away.
Wow.
And we see a glimpse of the man he might have been.
The man who is capable of empathy and compassion.
He weeps with Priam.
Yeah.
A shared acknowledgement of their loss, their humanity.
Yes.
He agrees to return Hector's body.
He does.
And even grants the Trojans a 12-day truce to mourn.
Yeah, a pause in the chaos.
Yeah.
A moment of peace.
Right.
That recognizes this shared humanity that transcends the battle lines.
And so the poem ends, not with the fall of Troy, which we know is coming,
right,
but with Hector's funeral.
Yes.
A reminder that even in war, ritual, respect for the dead, these things matter.
They do.
It's a bittersweet ending.
Absolutely. The Iliad doesn't shy away from the tragic consequences of war.
Right.
The loss, the suffering.
Yeah.
But it also offers a glimmer of hope.
It does.
The reconciliation between Achilles and Priam suggests that even in the darkest times, empathy and compassion can emerge.
Wow.
And maybe those qualities have the power to change the course of history.
Wow. I'm still processing everything.
Yeah.
It's remarkable how the Iliad can be so brutal,
right?
heart-wrenching, yet it also offers these glimpses of humanity and hope.
And think about this.
Yeah.
For centuries, this epic was passed down orally.
Right.
Imagine barbs.
Wow.
Traveling from town to town,
Yeah.
captivating audiences with these tales of heroes and gods and epic battles.
It's mind-boggling,
It is.
To think about it that way.
Yeah.
And yet here we are, thousands of years later, still grappling with the same questions, the same struggles at the heart of this poem.
It speaks to the universality of those themes, the allure and burden of glory, the power of rage, the tension between fate and free will, the search for meaning in the face of loss and suffering.
It's all, those are deeply human experiences, right?
They are,
that transcend time and culture.
Absolutely.
We talked about Kleos, that concept of everlasting glory.
Yes.
But it feels different than how we think of fame today.
It does.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Kleos wasn't about fleeting celebrity or social media followers.
Right.
It was about achieving something so extraordinary, so courageous, that your name would be etched into legend.
Wow.
Remembered for generations to come.
Right.
A way of defying death.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the warriors of the Iliad, the battlefield was the ultimate proving ground.
It was.
But the poem doesn't glorify war, does it?
It doesn't.
Right.
It shows us the brutality, the senseless loss.
Right.
The toll it takes on everyone.
Yeah. And what about the ending?
Mm.
We know Troy will fall.
Yeah.
But the poem leaves us with this image of Hector's funeral.
Right.
This moment of peace amidst the chaos.
A moment of reflection.
It feels like a challenge, doesn't it?
It does.
To find meaning.
Right.
To seek reconciliation.
Yeah.
Even when we know the fighting isn't over.
It's a reminder that even in tragedy, there's still room for compassion.
Okay.
For empathy. Right.
The reconciliation between Achilles and Priam doesn't erase the horrors of war.
Right.
But it offers that glimmer of hope, a suggestion that maybe something good can come from even the darkest experiences.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But that's the power of the Iliad, right?
It is.
It challenges us to think about ourselves.
Yeah.
About our own capacity for good and evil.
Yeah.
About the choices we make and the legacy we leave behind.
And for you, dear listener, here's something to consider. The poem ends with Hector's funeral.
Right.
A moment of closure for one hero's journey.
Right.
But what about the others?
Yeah.
What happens to Achilles? What becomes of Troy? What do you think the aftermath looks like?
Yeah.
For the characters and for the world they inhabit.
Wow.
We encourage you to seek out the Iliad and experience its timeless power for yourself.
That's great advice.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, this has been great. I really appreciate it.
Into one of the greatest stories ever told. I know, it's been amazing.